It's the George Plaster Show. 30 years of the best sports talk in Middle Tennessee. Featuring Tennessee Sports Hall of Famer Watson Brown. And it's a shame it's taken this long to get an introduction for this Tennessee Sports Hall of Famer, Kelly Holcomb, along with young gun Billy Derrick. And now, here's your host, George Plaster.
Hello again, everybody. Welcome in. It is, as I look outside, a beautiful Tuesday. It's a little bit warmer today, but I can't really, as much as I want to complain, look, it's a week before Christmas, less than a week before Christmas, and our weather has actually been pretty doggone good. Welcome to our digs at the Fordyce Center in Bellevue. That's one of the things we're thankful for at the end of 2023 is Dan Williams and an amazing staff out here that has made us feel very much at home. Let's get the show on the road. We start during football season with our daily Titans update brought to you by Lori Burnett Leland. Now, Lori sent me a message yesterday telling me, hey, interest rates are coming down some. This just in, they need to. With that in mind, now might be the time to talk with Lori about some options that 2 months ago might not have been possible. Dial her up, 615-969-4350. We say hello to Terry McCormick, Main Street Media. Terry, how are you?
Doing well, George. How are you?
Good. I'm in the Christmas spirit.
Good deal. Good deal. Where would you like to take this today, George? I'm all ears.
Terry, it's a dumpster fire. And I think on Sunday, we really saw the truth about where this thing is right now. Miami, I'm convinced, was a false positive. It was a moment in the sun. You can call it whatever. Sunday was back to a dose of reality, having some cold water thrown in your face to say, look, they've got big offensive line problems. Derrick Henry didn't suddenly lose all his ability. You know, this has got to be a real wake-up call to Iran Carthon that, look, don't get too high about that Miami win. You got a lot of issues.
Yeah, I think you're right, George. I think there's a lot of things that need to be fixed around this team, and not the least of which, like you said, is the offensive line. I think it all kind of triggers from there. I think, obviously they need to improve some of the weapons around Will Levis, but first of all, they need to figure out a way to keep him upright and healthy. And certainly getting sacked 7 times in the second half and overtime on Sunday is not the way to do that. The other thing, George, that I kind of want to go, you broached the subject of Derrick Henry. And I think for the first time after Sunday's game, I think for the first time in listening and being there in Derrick's press conference and, hearing what he had to say and all, I'm starting to believe that maybe he doesn't come back next year after I'd been thinking that the smart move would have been to bring him back. I'm starting to think that may not happen, that the Titans may want to go a different direction with more of an open attack using Tajay Spears as out of the backfield and as a runner. And I'm thinking that Derrick Henry, might want to go chase a ring somewhere if his time here is indeed done.
Okay, let's take it from 2 different standpoints. Number one, if he wants to chase the ring, God bless him. Lord knows he deserves that because he's gotten the crap kicked out of him and never does he complain. That's number one. Number two, the Titans, for PR purposes, need to absolutely say, if you're willing to come back, we want you back.
No, I agree with that. I think, you're going to go through you're already in lean times right here. And if you want butts in seats, as you're apt to say sometimes, George, Derrick Henry's not a bad place to start with that because as you go through this rebuilding process, there are definitely going to be growing pains. And I think the first evidence of those growing pains and how it affects the paying customer is probably going to be on display Sunday when the Seattle Seahawks come in and the Titans have no playoff hopes to speak of as they go onto the field. And it being Christmas, I got a feeling a lot of people are going to think that there may be other things they can do besides spending 3 hours at Nissan Stadium, and it might be a little bit of a wake up call for the organization that hey, we better get this thing fixed sooner rather than later if we don't want people checking out on us.
Okay, let me be cynical here because I realize, that there was this, oh, they've been mathematically eliminated. Crap, who's kidding who? This was over in September. I mean, I hear this question thrown at Vrabel. How are you going to motivate him? They haven't been in a pennant race all year. If anybody's open your eyes and look. I mean, I'm not saying that at you, but I mean, what the hell? This team was never a contender.
No, you're right. I mean, they do have, to put it in a baseball vernacular, they've got a little bit of a Pittsburgh Pirates look about them in
Yeah.
terms of it was over after about 6 weeks.
And I
But
admire the fact that knowing that, Terry, they've continued to play hard. They haven't played well, but they've played hard.
yeah, and I think that will continue because I think now you shift into the mode of, if you weren't there already, you shift into the mode of, I've got to put something good on tape these last few games to show that I need to be here because George, as we've talked about before, the weeding out process has already begun. You see Tierre Tart getting waived the other day, claimed by the Texans. I bet he'll be motivated for that game on New Year's Eve down in Houston. You saw Christian Fulton kind of surprised by being put on IR. You saw Monty Rice being shown the door a couple of weeks ago. So the weeding out process has already begun. And I think that probably, as much as anything, could be the motivation that keeps this team playing hard.
Terry, I realize that we maybe are going a little farther than you might have thought, and maybe there's the need for yet another State of the Union. But is it also not time to weed out some of that coaching staff?
Oh, I think that some of that's probably going to have to happen at the end of the season. I mean, they've already moved on from Craig Aukerman. And I got to think that at certain positions, certain places, that there'll be some assistant coaches that won't be a part of this in 2024.
Terry, good stuff as always. Appreciate it.
All right. See you, George.
Terry McCormick's Daily Titans Update brought to you by Lori Burnett Leland. And as she said it to me a couple of days ago, with interest rates feeling like they're about to come down a little bit, you might want to check in with her because there's some things, options that open up that maybe were not here 2 or 3 months ago. So dial her up at 615 969 4350. Later in the show, we will take a very close look at Kelly Holcomb's EAG-LES because, man, have they hit on some hard times.
Did you see last night that thing they put up on the screen where they've had how many underdogs win consecutively on Monday Night Football?
7 weeks in a row.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy. The Titans won last week, and then this week the Seattle Seahawks won. It's amazing that all these underdogs are winning, and I know that you have to do that bet of the day. Better you than me because I mean that is not easy, dude.
So, Kelly, we're going to show this at 3 o'clock in a graphic. Some of this is the Eagles are not playing very well.
No.
Granted. But there's also a schedule here. The NFL screwed them over royally. 6-week stretch. Home against Dallas, at Kansas City, home against Buffalo, home against San Francisco, on the road in Dallas, on the road in Seattle. Who amongst us, this sounds biblical, who amongst us could have survived that.
I don't know. You talk about 3 games, but that's 6 games. But they've got 3 games coming up that are very winnable. They play the Giants twice, and then they play the Arizona Cardinals. So they
get
still
some
got a leg
hostess.
up because they're just better than those teams, those 2 teams there. But they're not playing well, and it seemed like somebody even said it. I don't know if it was on ESPN last night, but it seemed like ever since A.J. Brown got upset and started yelling on the sideline because he wasn't getting the ball or whatever, things have kind of gone downhill. And then last night, that last play that Jalen Hurts threw that ball up to him, like you see the safety going back, but he never got to the middle of the field, George. And it just like when Jalen Hurts saw that, he was honed in on that. He stared at it the whole time. He allowed the safety to get over there, and that was one of those throws that shouldn't have been made.
Billy.
Yes.
How are you?
Good. How you doing?
Good.
How about Drew Lock, huh?
Yeah.
Unreal.
Very cool post-game interview with him.
Very cool, man. That was the best part of it.
I had a preconceived notion of who Drew Lock was, and I was wrong, man. He changed my opinion in that interview. I'm suddenly kind of a Drew Lock fan. Good for him.
Credit to veteran Lisa Salters, too. It takes a good reporter to kind of get that out of him, too. I thought she did a good job there.
This reporter.
But, Geno Smith was activated right before kickoff. But Carroll went with Locke instead. So, and he made a second straight start to have that good of a backup. We talk about all these good backups. Drew Lock's one of them, too. That is still a damn good player.
Which begs the question, do you trust Malik Willis next year as a backup?
Billy? What do you think?
I mean, I think we've seen everything we need to see as George gets back with us. But
Thank you.
Yeah. I say they'll be going into free agency to get somebody, don't you? Because I don't think obviously Ryan Tannehill is going to be gone. And I think they got to go get somebody. That's just me, but I don't know. I talked about that yesterday. I mean, egos and coaches, man, you never know.
Tannehill, Atlanta, GA.
Probably.
Desmond Ridder has proven to be a bust thus far. They're going
back to Heineke.
Well, first of all, Arthur Smith. I say this: Arthur Smith could get canned. When you lose to Carolina,
right?
First of all, I'm giving away all our 3:00 stuff. Why?
What are we doing?
I don't know.
Yeah, let's go over the review. Let's review.
Oh yeah, we've got to have an update.
Well, before last night's game, early afternoon, I forget when this game ended. Western Kentucky came back from down 28 to beat Old Dominion 38-35 in the famous Toastery Bowl. Third-string quarterback Caden Veltkamp came off the bench to throw for 383 yards, 5 touchdowns. They had a game-winning field goal in OT. Veltkamp had thrown just 6 passes in his college career.
And looked great yesterday.
Well, and the plan was to turn the reins over to Turner Helton, the nephew of head coach Tyson Helton.
Well, that didn't work.
Helton was benched in the first quarter after a fumble and an interception. And then Veltkamp, the third stringer, came in and won it. I love bowl season. I mean, who would have thought? I didn't even see the ending. I just heard about it. I kept saying,
all I know is this. It was one of my games on Silly Underdogs. Hilltoppers, baby.
God.
On this show?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. If I'd known that, I wouldn't have rooted for it.
I was wondering why he was celebrating.
Move on quickly.
Frisco Bowl tonight, 8:00 at Toyota Stadium, where a soccer team plays. So that'll be interesting. UTSA, 11-point favorite over Marshall. The Roadrunners are looking for their first bowl win ever.
Do we think the Thundering Herd will bring a big group to Frisco?
I'm sure they will.
Because the early bowls, a lot of empties.
Stadium empty.
Stadium empty, yes.
But Jeff Traylor, in all seriousness, has done a hell of a job at UTSA. We had thought that he might be in the mix there of a couple of jobs, A&M.
Didn't happen.
No, it didn't happen. And he can make history tonight. Final game for Frank Harris in his college career. So we'll see about that. Also, Washington's Kalen DeBoer is the AP Coach of the Year. I think well-deserved after leading the Huskies to the playoff. And This feels a little different than Chris Peterson's Washington team that he brought to the playoff with Jake Browning. This team feels more explosive, more talent offensively. We'll see if they can hang defensively against Texas, but this feels like a little bit of a different team than that first Washington team. So credit to Kalen DeBoer. Also, Dylan Raiola, ESPN's top quarterback in the 2024 recruiting class, announced yesterday that he's switching his college commitment from Georgia to Nebraska.
Which means he's no longer welcome in Georgia.
Which means he got paid more money.
Oh, wow.
Well, his father was an All-American offensive lineman at Nebraska, and his uncle is the O-line coach there.
So, I mean,
at New Mexico. Or not New Mexico.
It sounds
Nebraska.
like Kelly may be right that they, late in the game, ponied up.
Yeah. Well, we thought McCord might be headed up there. He landed at Syracuse, and then we didn't know if Beck was going to come back, and then Beck came back. Although I think we all kind of figured Beck would come back to Georgia. So that's the college news. Preds Canucks tonight at 7. Preds looking for their 5th straight win.
Let's go.
And that is just about it for me.
No, that's not all of it.
Well, also, one more college piece. Taulia Tagovailoa opts out of the Music City Bowl for Maryland. So
really?
Big piece there.
Oh, I hate to hear that.
Yeah.
Late word. We got the word about an hour ago of the passing of a legendary high school football coach in this area, the former Gallatin Green Wave coach Calvin Short.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Want to just take a moment and pass on our thoughts and prayers to his family. He was a good man, and he will be missed, in particular up in the Gallatin area for sure.
You got to meet him in the last
year
or so, didn't
you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to see him. I think he was a middle guy. I think he was. I used to see him at the golf tournament, the Hall of Fame golf tournament at middle. He was a good dude, man. I really like him. I know his daughter used to teach over at Riverdale, and he was a really good man.
After the break, we'll head to Knoxville. Tony Basilio will join us. Who knows what we're going to get into, but I promise it will not be dull. So please stick around. The George Plaster Show is next.
It was the most horrible experience that any mother could ever go through. I knew that I needed to get help. My friend, she immediately said, "You need to call Bart Durham." And you guys were there within an hour. You guys are like family for us.
Yeah, sure is nice to connect with the people that you're doing your best to help.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
I'm Watson Brown.
I'm Kelly Holcomb.
I'm Billy Derrick.
We're the George Plaster Show. We've been Nashville's best sports talk for the last 30 years. And you know what? We still are.
Catch us live weekdays from 2 to 4 p.m. Central Time in Nashville on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. Also, the podcast version is available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
Looking for more than just awards and trophies? Southern Trophy House is your one-stop solution.
For over 60 years, their team has created lasting impressions with a personalized touch. From embroidery to screen-printed apparel to corporate awards, signs, and name badges, they have everything you need to keep your brand shining bright. With their knowledgeable customer service team, you can relax as they create, produce, pack, and ship merchandise and awards on time and on budget. That includes etched crystal awards, custom-cut acrylic name badges, embroidered Richardson ball caps, banners, screen-printed T-shirts, laser-engraved Yeti cups, and knives. Recognize your hard-working team from Southern Trophy House, where they do their best to help you recognize your best. Located at 2705 Nolensville Pike in Nashville, give them a holler, 615-256-7295. Visit southerntrophy.com. Southern Trophy House, for all your personalization and recognition needs.
Okay, you ready for this sappy sounding speech, except it's true?
Let's hear it.
At a time of the year where we need to be thankful for certain things, I'm very thankful for this guy. He has been an absolute warrior to put up all our mess every week over the last who knows how long. Very, very thankful, very appreciative. This is one talented guy up in the Knoxville area. Tony, give me $1.
Well, I mean, George, check's in the mail. Generally, it's supposed to go the other way, but the check's in the mail, and appreciate the kind words. My best to you guys this season as well.
Thank you. Is that Philadelphia A's or Oakland?
Well, it's an Oakland A's hat, but I love the color because it goes with my Eagles Kelly green that I'm rocking today.
Yes. Yeah.
But, I mean, last night, Jays Louise, man, what a horrible game.
We're going to get into that later after
let Drew
your
Lock
call.
beat you. 90, what do you go, like
92 yards
92
in a minute
yards
52.
in a minute. Thanks, George.
Well, hold on. Let me say this. A minute 52 was what they had when they got the ball back.
It was unreal. They scored.
And I'm
with 30
sitting there
seconds
thinking
left.
the best they can do is throw a pass into the end zone at the end. Hell, they had scored with 30 seconds left. I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
It's Eagles' third loss in a row. You know, the Eagles were 10-2 coming in the last night, and they changed defensive coordinators. That shows you how in the NFL, I mean, all that stuff not for long. And in Philly, they're talking about firing this coach. He was in the Super Bowl last year. People on talk radio up there are talking about firing him. I'm going, what are we doing here? But that's the nature of the deal.
Okay, just out of curiosity, did you ever want to work sports talk radio in Philly?
When I was a kid, sure. But then you get to a point where you realize what that business is about in a spot like that, George. And it truly is about your last book, goodbye to you.
Right.
And it just chews people up. So, what's the old song? Sometimes we thank God for unanswered prayers, man. You know, that comes to mind there. But yeah, sure. Back in the day.
So we're in a little bit of this lull right now with exams and a bowl game that's a couple of weeks away. But, I got this crazy thought. So when the Tennessee football team assembles to go over Iowa, and you've got the defensive people in a room and some coaches saying, you better be ready to play because these people are, oh, wait a minute, I can't use that on Iowa. I mean, how do you How do you make your kids believe that they've got to get serious on the defensive end when they're playing Iowa?
The good thing for Tennessee is they had a bunch of opt-outs, and so a bunch of their veteran players left defensively.
Yeah.
So they've got some kids. They've got some kids playing in the secondary. I mean, some freshmen. And so those kids are probably so excited to see the field that won't be a problem here. But George, Iowa is so unoffensive that it's offensive. They choose to not play that side of the field. They're very good defensively. But defensively, they're weird because you would think a team like that would force a lot of turnovers. They don't. You would think a team like that would force people to play faster than they want to. They don't. What they do is they play zone defense, and they do it better than anybody. And they also play in a league where they don't really have a ton of athleticism. You know, you get past in that league, you get past Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State, and what's left? I mean, in that conference, seriously, and I'm not going to be here like some SEC homer because for my money, the best football that was played in the country this year was played on the West Coast. Because they had the quarterbacks, they had the skill people, and even that league to some extent sort of ran out of gas late. I guess I say all that, George, to say I've never seen a fan base less excited about a bowl game than this Tennessee fan base this year. And for a myriad of reasons. One of them is they convened for practice the other day, and Joe Milton showed up, and he's playing, and he's going to start. And Tennessee's trying to sell people like me behind the scenes that they're going to split the time between him and Nico. George, I don't believe that. I just don't believe that. I believe they'll get in the game, and unless they get a commanding lead, they won't play Nico till the time comes because that's what Josh Heupel's done all year. I don't understand it. I would understand it if Hendon Hooker was out there at quarterback and you're putting up great numbers, but
sure.
Joe Milton, to me, is not a hill worth dying on, and this year that's what they've done, and it doesn't make any sense to me.
So Heupel has done a lot of more smart things than dumb.
Yeah.
What's your theory as to why he is willing to die on this mountain?
It's got me rethinking a lot of things as I've considered this. One of them is this. What would have happened 2 seasons ago if Joe Milton wouldn't have gotten hurt in the Pittsburgh game? Plays the game and they lose. Are they making a quarterback change? Do we know Hendon Hooker's name?
It's a heck of a question.
He has a fascination with Joe Milton. I mean, let's rewind the clock here. A couple and a half years ago, and everybody's allowed to be wrong. You know, there's a saying in the coaching profession and in big business and really in life. It's one thing to be wrong. It's another thing to stay wrong. You know, like in our deal, George, you have opinions. You're paid to give your opinions. And then you look at things and you go, you know what? I'm on the wrong side of that.
Right. I got to change.
I'm getting on the other side of that deal because I'm not going to be,
Right.
And so with that in mind, I just wonder how that whole thing would have played out because it's an interesting chapter in Tennessee football that was made possible by the fact that Joe Milton got hurt. I mean, I'll remind you, Hendon Hooker arrived. He was one of Jeremy Pruitt's last gifts, that staff. Jay Graham talked him into coming. He was coming when the other coaches were walking out the door. I was on the air. I remember joking, does this kid not have the internet on his phone or does he not have access to the internet? I mean, he doesn't see what everybody else sees. Anyway, he showed up. They saw him in winter workouts, saw him in spring practice, and went and got another quarterback. They recruited right over him. So I just wonder, Josh Heupel just has a fascination with Joe Milton because he recruited him at Central Florida, as the story goes, when he was at UCF.
Right.
He chose Michigan. Watson Brown was on with me last week, and Watson had a great point. He said, Tony, now that it's over, I just never saw how Joe Milton fit that offense. He does not fit that offense. He's a pro-style quarterback. So, I don't know. It's weird. And our fan base wants to see Nico play. They don't want to see Iowa play. They sure as hell don't want to see Joe Milton in Iowa play. And my advice would be, it's January 1st. I think it's like 11 a.m. Central Time, noon Eastern.
Right.
I'm drinking me a stiff cup of coffee in the first quarter for that game. A stiff cup of coffee. Maybe some espresso, George.
You're right. So, what I remember of the Pittsburgh game was that he missed at least twice that I remember wide open people.
That's him.
Where you're just like, oh, how can you do this?
Yeah.
By the way, I almost fell in the chair.
I know. I love that.
That wouldn't have been good. So when it comes to Heupel, and it appears he's not willing to just say, look, we need to get to Nico. We need to find out what this kid's all about. I'm like you. I don't get it.
I don't get it either. And, the thing that kind of concerns me about Heupel, and he's young, but he's never fired an assistant coach either. And there's talk that they're going to extend and bring back their entire coaching staff from last year. And that's another thing that has fans and boosters here a little concerned. And I think rightfully so.
I'm going to ask one here that's really off the wall. But
Sure.
I cannot see a staff meeting at Alabama where anybody raises their hand and says, Coach Saban, in all due respect, I must totally disagree. Okay, I get that that's one place where I don't think it would work.
Right.
In Heupel's case, this has to be a deal where there are coaching staff members privately going, I don't get it. Is it a staff where another opinion is welcome, or is it Heupel and no one else?
No, I think he's pretty collaborative from that regard. I'll tell you a story. The Vanderbilt game. I got this from a couple different people. First time I heard it, I didn't believe it, and then I got it from somebody else. But the Vanderbilt game, before the game, he went to a couple staff members' offense, said, hey, listen, because he's the offensive coordinator. I mean, they put it on somebody else, but he's down there, and he's really the guy that's going to decide when's it time to put that backup quarterback in. He said, don't let me go too far in that game without putting the backup quarterback in the game. So I need you guys in my headset early in the second half, somewhere like that. I need you guys to just, kind of let me know that. And lo and behold,
he got too far.
They kept telling him it's time. And he kept saying, no, it's not time. Josh Heupel, the offensive coordinator, has arguments with Josh Heupel, the head coach. And at some point, man, you got to be a head coach. You're not offensive coordinator anymore. And it's an interesting dichotomy. It's a tough needle to thread for a lot of people because he loves putting his points up, loves his offense. That's the stock and trade, I mean, we're all wired different ways. The things that, bring us real joy. I think lighting up a scoreboard brings him real joy.
Kelly, as you can tell, not a lot of script to this. Just firing it off the cuff. So fire.
Well, give us a little bit of what's going on in the transfer portal. I mean, you got guys coming in, coming out. This is the most, and I'm going to vent for a second. This is the craziest thing I've ever been around in my life.
Yeah.
My son's head coach at Troy leaves. They just hired the guy from Notre Dame, and supposedly Summerall wanted to keep the staff together. He loves Troy. That's a blah, 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 whatever. He goes to Tulane's making more money. Well, they're going to implode that whole thing. And I just don't like this stuff with coaches and now with the transfer portal. Like, it's just outrageous to me. And the NIL stuff, I've heard guys up there. I've heard from in your locker room. that there's some guys that were upset, that some guys were getting paid more. They went to the coaches and said, I'm upset because this dude didn't play as much as I did, yet he's making way more than I am. I need more money. And I heard that was given to players. So where does all this go, Tony? I mean, is this going to implode? Do we know what's the transfer situation up there? We got guys coming in, coming out. Give us a little bit.
Sport's never been more popular on television. You know, we say all that, right? I think all this chaos has made it in a way more interesting. And these people keep falling forward. I do believe if they had a do-over, guys, a do-over 10 years ago, let's give these guys a little bit of money. Back then, they didn't want freedom. Let's give them a little money and let's give them full benefits so their families don't have to carry insurance policies when their kids play Division I football. They didn't do that.
That's a really good point.
Now we're back to this. So you talk about that staff and that guy basically lying to your son. That's just the way it is now. That's the stock and trade. Kids understand that if a head coach is moving his lips, chances are he's lying to you. So, and it's a terrible thing. I mean, it's a bad thing to say, but they're in an industry where I can't tell you the truth. Now, your scenario you painted, I was told today. In fact, I was told today on the air by a guy that's real close to the collective, a guy that calls my show, who's real close to the collective people, and he knows this for a fact, and he just was spouting it on the air today because it's the truth. The veteran defensive backs went to the coaches and said, hey, these freshmen you signed that we all played over and we're supposed to play over them next year, they're making 3 times more than we were making this year. Like, you had to sign these guys these big deals, and we didn't get any. And a coach has said, well, not only are you not going to get any, but you need to get in the portal because you're really not going to get any next year. So, and that's kind of what happened. I mean, they didn't let anybody really go into the portal that they didn't want to lose. Tyler Barron was kind of a headache to Rodney Garner, even though he's an accomplished, edge rusher. But he drove Rodney Garner a little bit crazy. But Kelly, the thing that your son's going through is just, it's part and parcel of the experience of playing major college football for all these kids. And that just shouldn't be, man. There's no safeguards. There's no guardrails. There's no what's good for the game. What about the kids? What about truth? It's just all about money. It is just all about money. And the bottom line is, until they say to the coaches, you have to sit a year, the kids should not have to sit a year. The kids should never have had to sit. If the coaches don't have to sit, the kids don't have to sit. But what you're getting ready to see from the courts is, because we had a ruling that came down in West Virginia last week, giving everybody a 14-day window for a second free transfer. The courts are going to stay with that. There's no way they're going to restrict movement of these players. So you're going to have total anarchy from year to year. You'll have guys that have transferred twice move again. Now I ask you, Kelly or George, would you want a guy on your team that's already moved twice?
No.
I wouldn't. I mean,
no,
I wouldn't.
I wouldn't. I don't care how good they are.
You hit on something, though, a minute ago. The courts have lost their marbles.
Well, college football lost their marbles because they kicked it to the courts.
Yes.
Well, see, this is what I don't understand, though, Tony. When you get a guy like JT Daniels, everybody talks about that, and George has talked about it on his show. He starts out at USC. He goes to Georgia, then he goes to West Virginia, then he goes to Rice. Like, how does that happen? How are we how do we allow that to happen?
I don't know. And 30 years from now, I mean, he's going to have or 10 years from now when he's watching a game with his family, his kids are going to have like 7 different jerseys on.
But he'll be able to tell them, look, I was in the Rose Bowl parade in the transfer portal float, waving
transfer portal float.
Here's the transfer.
Parade.
Hi.
I've got friends in Texas. Let's go see them. I've got friends in Georgia. Oh, by the way, I flirted with the Vols twice. I've got friends in Knoxville. I mean, what in the world? Frequent flyer miles.
Man,
I know people don't care about this, but
yeah.
And you know, we all understand times change, man. We get older, things like time has changed. We understand the transfer portal, the NIL. But what do guys like Watson's brother, you know, Mac, do at UNC? Or I'm in a firm belief that if Nick Saban wins the national championship, he's going to ride off into the sunset. Now, I don't know if that'll happen.
Right.
But like you see guys like that, like what is the motivation for these guys? Because you know, just like Lane Kiffin said at the SEC Media Days, I mean, he was right. Like, how do you build a program, or you try to put your things that you're trying to preach to the kids about character, about all that, and there's none of that going on. So how do these and I don't think anybody cares. I don't think anybody cares if the old coaches leave because they're probably wanting to get out anyway. But you know, what is your thoughts on the coaches?
I wouldn't want to do it, but they're making a lot of money.
Yeah,
a lot more than they were when you were at middle. Think about it when you were at middle and Boots is making a living, right?
Yeah.
And now the money they were talking about the other day at middle, $1.5 million a year. I mean, whatever the end number was, for what? What are we doing? In any case, you know, and I'm left to wonder. Like I was, you know, I hear it's $15 to $20 million to build a team now. You know, if you want to compete in the playoff, play where Tennessee is. I mean, you're given that money, but what are you getting in return? I wish I could go out like George in advertising and see these business owners, these same people, and go, hey, why don't you give me like a $400,000 sponsorship? They go, what are you, out of your damn mind? Why would I give you $400,000? And I'm going, I don't know. I make you feel good like that athlete over there. I mean, I make you laugh.
We'll have a party for you at my house.
Party. We'll have a day on the air where we just, you know, talk about your accomplishments.
Love fest.
Yes.
So that's another thing. Like you get all these sponsors, you get all these people that are giving money, and they're giving a lot of money, and then you go out and you have a really bad year. Like what are they going to get pissed off? You know what I'm saying?
Lane Kiffin, who you said last year, went before the media and said, "Oh, it's free agency." He's the king of it. He's winning the portal. He's winning the portal. And you know how they're doing it? They've got a guy down there named Walker Jones. If you want to Google it, or you can go to my website
hold on a second. Hold on. I don't need to Google it. Walker and I did a game together.
You know him.
I know Walker. Walker's a sharp guy.
The guy that was at Under Armour.
Under Armour.
Okay. He's heading up their NIL.
No, that doesn't surprise me.
Okay. He's a mover and shaker. He was let go from the Under Armour company, George, because he was spending too much money on athletes and on the bean counters. Said, hey, man, you guys are running up. So him and a guy over him, they kicked them out. What perfect spot to be in than a guy that spends too much money on athletes to be the guy at the NIL that doles the dough out. That guy found his calling in life, Kelly.
Walker loves him some Ole Miss Rebels.
There you go, man.
I'm just like all this stuff that happened with Troy. It's kind of giving me an eye opener.
Yes,
because it happened so fast.
Yes,
you get these kids, and now even with that being said, like how do you get these kids? Like all of them are opting out. So if they're not playing in the top, if they're not in the top 4 right now, they're all opting out.
Right? They got a bowl game Saturday.
What's that?
They have a bowl game Saturday.
Oh gosh, but yeah, they're opting out. Like none of them's playing. Like if you're not in the national championship hut, they're not going to play. So like, don't you kind of hold the NIL money, saying, "Hey, if we're giving you this money, you're going to keep playing until the end of the season."
You know the thing about NIL though, because the NCAA won't admit what it is. They won't admit it's pay for play. A kid could literally sit there and take the money all year, walk away, and not owe the school or anybody anything because they can't call it pay for play. It's just a bunch of pretending because the NCAA is back to where they are, which is they're half pregnant. And how that makes any sense to anybody, I have no idea. But if they would have just handled this and just shown some leadership on the front end, we would not be here right now. But this thing's total chaos. I mean, it gets better than that. So you've got this portal going. You've got another week and a half of the portal. In the meantime, tomorrow is the first day of National Signing Day, which used to fall in February. And when it was in February, it was a national holiday for the college sports fan everywhere. People took time out. We used to show some restaurants. We'd stir all day. We talk about the class. They were all going to be, world beaters by the time we got done. But hey, it was a day just to feel good about what you're doing. Okay, fine. So now they've taken that away from the college football fan. Tomorrow, signing day is going to fall. And then they still have one in February for some reason. But most of the prospects are going to sign tomorrow. And I'm sitting here going, what if I'm preparing a team for the playoff? I got to worry about who I'm signing tomorrow. I've got to worry about who I'm trying to get in the portal, and I'm trying to prepare for a playoff. I got to worry about who on my team's going to opt out at the end of the year, and I'm trying to prepare a team for them. And next year, when we have a 12-team playoff, it's going to be even worse. I mean, are they going to adjust this schedule? This schedule, the way they have it all. And again, these guys are way overpaid, so I'm not crying for them. But the talk show hosts and people like us, George, that cover this stuff are way underpaid. And it's a total pain in the rear end. I mean, what are we doing? It doesn't make any sense.
We deserve big bucks.
Yes, and I'm looking for a couple boosters. If you're listening, tclub.team, give me the money you're going to spend on a 5-star. You give it to me, and I'll bring you more joy.
And we don't need near as much money. I mean, we just need a little bit of the pie.
Just a little.
Just a little sliver of the pie.
A little sliver.
For your son, though. I feel for your son because that coaching change thing, you don't sign up for that, man. Nobody signs up for that.
It's crazy, man.
Okay, you've told them how they can reach you.
Yeah.
Basketball team plays when?
They play Tarleton State Thursday. And Rick Barnes, I've got a stat up there today over at my website. They basically, for the last 2.5 seasons, have been in the top 25. But we looked up a crazy number today. Since he's been at Tennessee, they've spent 100 weeks in the top 25.
Yeah.
That's the fourth most. You got the Houston, you got Gonzaga number 1, Duke, Houston number 2, Gonzaga number 3, and then the Vols.
That is pretty rarefied air.
That's pretty good.
That is pretty damn good.
Of course, all those teams go to a Final Four, and March is where we go to die. However, the thing that's incredible about Rick Barnes is, of those 100 weeks that they've been in the top 25, 41 of them, they've been in the top 10, George. 41 weeks, including 5 weeks at number 1. And up here, we've got a kind of a split fan base on him because people are really, I'll put it in something you can understand. They liken him to Bobby Cox here. Except Bobby got a ring. And this guy right now, I mean, to this point, and he's done a great job here. But man, in March, he gets ring around the collar. I mean, I don't understand it because he's really done a great job here. But that gets so lost in translation because college basketball has made their sport all about March. It's almost like we just play the regular season just to kind of, get through it. And I noticed last week, you on your airwaves, you're not holding back on Stackhouse.
No, I'm not.
Why won't he recruit players?
He's lazy.
Them really well.
Look, he knows how to coach.
He does a really nice job.
He doesn't want to recruit. He's made that very clear to people when he got here.
Why is he
He's
there?
a lot more interested in playing golf.
Why is he there?
Hell if I know.
If you don't want to recruit, I got on Barnes early in his career here because it looked like he was doing that. And we were calling him like weekend at Barnesies and this, that, and the other. And he didn't like that. Okay.
No.
So you talk about how to get on the wrong side of somebody you'll never get on the right side of. That's a good way. But again, I was wrong on him. I didn't stay wrong because what he's done is he's made a great living of finding guys that are program type players. Instead of going out there and collecting stars, he looks for kids that come from good families, good upbringing, the whole deal. He does not bring in disruptive people. And if people are disruptive, he gets them right out of here. He does not play and it works for him. And he's won a lot of basketball games here. He's done a great job. Stackhouse does such a good job, George, from the beginning of the season to the end with his roster, but he won't go get players. Deserve better than that, man.
They do, but they're showing up in hundreds right now. They had Billy went to the San Fran game, said they had 1,500 there.
Wow,
can you believe that? Hey,
yeah, I can believe that. Yeah,
we got to run. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and all that kind of stuff.
Same to you guys. I love both of you.
See you, Tony.
I'm celebrating my birthday on Saturday, turning 39, and holding.
Oh, 39? Yeah.
Country song era. You boys have a great day.
See you in January.
Billy, Merry Christmas to you, brother. If I was here right now, I'd pull that mistletoe out for me and you, my man.
See you, Tony. What a great way to end it. We're back after this.
Forget the fact that Sir Speedy Music City is owned by my BGA classmate James Warren. Their work stands on its own merit. James and his staff do incredible work, as evidenced by the huge banners at the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. If you're looking for quality to help your marketing and business communications, and you want it at a reasonable price, these are your folks. Call them at 615-832-9511 or go to print at sirspeedymusiccity.com. And be sure to tell them Plaz sent you.
Family owned and operated for more than 2 decades, Alaco Fine Wood Floors is Nashville and Middle Tennessee's choice for premium quality hardwood floors. Since 1995, Jimmy Alaco and his army of employees have embodied the approach of taking pride in one's craft and providing superior customer service, growing from a one-man shop to a team of 23 professionals who share the founder's passion for quality craftsmanship and customer satisfaction. If you are interested in contacting them, you can find their headquarters at 2505 Winford Avenue in Berry Hill, or give them a call at 615-356-0303. Again, that's 615-356-0303, or log on to alacofinewoodfloors.com. Alaco Fine Wood Floors, serving Middle Tennessee's hardwood flooring needs since 1995.
Over the years, more men have started to seek help for hormone deficiencies and imbalances, and Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and wife Daphne, along with their experienced staff, give men the treatment required to improve their quality of life, improve your immune system, energy level, cognitive function, and more. There's no better time to achieve a healthy lifestyle. What are you waiting for? Give Cool Springs MD a call today for an appointment at 615-486-3458 or visit the website coolspringsmd.com.
For over 35 years, Wilson Bank & Trust has been committed to providing customized banking solutions to help individuals, families, and businesses in Tennessee achieve their goals. As your full-service community bank, we are proud to offer loans with competitive rates, local decision-making, and fast, friendly service from our experienced lenders. No matter where you are on your financial journey, Wilson Bank & Trust is ready to help you take the next step. Visit your nearest Wilson Bank & Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
So, Kelly, let's do a quick segment, and I mean really quick. How would you solve the transfer portal issue?
Well, like I talked about JT Daniels, there's I don't understand how guys are getting around it. I don't understand that. I think that you have to.
Wouldn't you assume that parents at some point would sit there and say, what the hell are you doing?
Absolutely.
After the third one, do the parents not look around and go, maybe you're the problem?
Well, but it's kind of like it's kind of a brief synopsis of our society right now, though, George. Like, if you don't like something, hey, I'm not gonna fight through anything. I'm not gonna fight through any adversity. Yeah. I'm just gonna go somewhere where it's easier, And we always hear, there's two roads. I mean, which one are you going to take? You're going to take the easier one, you're going to take the harder one. Well, kids nowadays are taking the easier one. And that's what Tom Orr, when I talked to him about, he's like, it's going to kill college football, son. And when they come here, he said when they come to the NFL and they have to actually compete for a job, they're not going to know how to do it. Right. So I don't know what the deal is. There's guys transfer. I say it every time we talk about this. Several guys transfer when I did it. But I think that you have to have some sort of penalty. If you do it once, okay, that's fine. You can go
one freebie.
But if you do, one freebie. But if you go again, you've got to sit out a year. You've got to have that deal where you've got to sit out, or got to be some kind of penalty, because you got guys going from USC, Georgia, West Virginia, Rice. I mean, good gracious, dude! Like, what is it? Like, figure it out. Have some staying power, have something about you, want to compete against somebody and say, hey, I'm going to beat his butt, or I'm going to have to sit there and watch. I just go to the coach and say, am I going to get an honest opportunity to compete? Now, the one thing that Tony said that I totally agree with is that these coaches nowadays, which I'm so glad that I played when I did, because Coach Donnelly, and you know this, you know him, Billy knows him. He'll sit there and he's going to tell you the absolute truth.
Whether you want to hear it or
not. Whether
you
like it or not. And that's the way I am. I learned from my dad. I learned from him. If you tell somebody the truth, you have nothing to worry about. And if he can't handle it, that's his fault. If somebody tells me the truth and I can't handle it, well, that's my problem, not anybody else's problem. But you'll get college coaches now, which bothers me to no end. They'll sit there and they'll lie to you, knowing that they're lying. And I have a problem with that, George. But like, getting back to the transfer portal, you get one freebie, and then we got to figure something out. You can't, like, if you go somewhere else, you got to sit out a year. It's something like that. It's not going anywhere, George. You know that.
Kelly, the scary part, though, because I do think there are people in the college world who have a brain. Going back to the late, great C.M. Newton, who I think would have been great for these kind of, how are we going to fix this mess?
Yeah.
But the problem is, now that it's gotten in the courts, these courts don't have a lick of sense when it comes to sports. And it's an embarrassment how stupid they are. And they know they're causing chaos. They know their decisions are just absolutely ruining the sport, and yet they just go back behind chambers and hide.
Yeah, they don't care. They really don't. They don't care.
That's
it's
sad.
It is sad. It's all about making money, but just look at our country. I mean, it's the same thing. Like, you got people that are making decisions that know the decisions they're making, and they know they're not right, but they don't care. They're going to make it, and then they're going to, just like you talk about people going off into the darkness, they're going to go and they're not going to answer any questions. They're going to make a decision. If you ask them a question about it, they're not going to answer it, or they'll lie to you.
After the break, we'll have stat of the day. And then I'll ask a bunch of questions about the ending of the Philly-Seattle game, that final minute 52 that has me shaking my head going, really? Stay tuned.
Convenience and value, two words that we expect when we do business. Our goal at JHA Company is to deliver just that, both to our school partners and to our customers. Whether you're purchasing photos, yearbooks, class jewelry, letter jackets, school spirit wear, or senior graduation products, we strive to make the experience easy, convenient, and cost-effective. Find out more at jhacompany.com or call 615-867-6345 for more information. JHA, one source, one company.
You were in a crash.
Yeah.
Your kids were in the car with you.
We're very lucky to even be telling this story to you. Nikki treated us like family, and she was very caring and loving, and I'm just so grateful for that. She was somebody I could trust, and being a veteran, that's so important to me. My kids are going to have a better life now because I don't have to worry about those expenses that we were out. Your family has really created a legacy of trust, and I would recommend you to anyone.
Star Physical Therapy was established in 1997 with one great mission: to serve. If you're hurting, don't wait to receive physical therapy. You don't need a referral to see their physical therapist, and early morning and evening appointments are available. Make the call to 615-673-1420 and get rid of that pain. Star Physical Therapy, the official health provider of Football Friday.
All right, I'm here with my buddy Chip Ward from Lincoln Home Loans. And Chip, it's football season, and it's also, it feels like it's moving season every time of the year, especially here in Nashville. Tell us about your business, Chip, and kind of introduce people to who you are and what you do here in the Nashville area.
Well, you're exactly right, Billy. It is definitely moving season, as it is most times, especially right here after Labor Day. Kids are back in school, and people are starting to think they want to get settled in before the holidays. And so what we are doing is right now we are getting a lot of people pre-approved for home loans. Inventory has ticked up a little bit. You know, it has been down, but it's rebounding a little bit. And right now is a good time to buy.
Chip, real quick before I let you go, tell people how they can reach you. And if someone is interested in your business, how would they reach out to you?
Well, sure. At Lincoln Home Loans, you can reach me at 615-500-7579. My URL for my application page is chipward.net, and my email address is simply chip@chipward.net. And so I'd love to hear from anybody. I can answer any questions about the whole home buying and financing process.
Top of the hour on a Tuesday, talking about the Eagles' struggles. Well, maybe Kelly's World of Football, partially.
Well, just go with me on this one.
All right. Stat of the day coming up, brought to you by John English Antique Sports and Cards. You can find them out in Shelbyville. They're open during the week, Tuesday through Friday from noon to 5, and Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 5. Give them a call, 931-492-4304. See what Matthew's got cooked up today. Last night, Jalen Hurts tied the record for most rushing touchdowns in a season by a quarterback with 14. What player does Jalen Hurts now share the record with?
Gosh. Well, it wouldn't be Tim Tebow because he didn't play long enough.
Gosh, I know this answer too because I heard it. Gosh, I cannot think of what it was. It's not
You don't think it's Lamar Jackson?
I don't think it's Lamar Jackson.
Okay. Because that would be an easy, obvious.
Gosh, who is it, man? I just heard this. I just heard it, George, Billy.
Come on, Kelly.
You notice I'm not helping much because
I know you're not. I know it, but I cannot think of it for the life of me. My CTE's kicking in, man. Sorry. It kicked in last week on Willie's show when I totally got confused on who the underdog was and who the team that was expected to win. So.
And I once again asked that Kelly be put under double secret probation. Could it be Roger Staubach?
Too far back.
Too far back.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. You better show it to us.
Newton.
Yeah.
I knew that.
Yeah.
Sorry, George.
That's okay.
I just heard that. Heard that, and I could not remember it. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Not even active. He's I guess a free agent, you would say, right?
Oh, I mean, he
or is he even?
He's talking a good game every time a job comes open. It's either Colin Kaepernick or Cam Newton. But neither one of them it never amounts to anything. So we're now into the second hour officially.
Yep.
And we're going to talk some NFL. So obviously, after last night, there's a lot of talk about EAGLES. And don't get me wrong, rightfully so, because there has been a collapse in Philly. I'm going to show this graphic first because I think the NFL was very unfair to the Eagles over a 6-week period. Think about this. And it's not as though these teams are surprisingly good, okay?
Right.
At home, 6 weeks ago, they beat Dallas. Everybody knew Dallas would be pretty good. Then the schedule said you'll get an off week, but then you'll go to Kansas City. Everybody knew Kansas City'd be good. Then you can come home and play Buffalo, okay? No secret that Buffalo was going to be pretty good. Then it's the 49ers. No secret there. Then it's Dallas again. Then it's Seattle, who you want to say, well, that's a little more of a breather, except, Kelly, you know this better than I do. It's the loudest venue in the National Football League.
Absolutely, it is. It's a hard place to play. Plus, they were 6-7. They're trying to get into the playoffs, and that they got them closer to getting a wild card spot.
They were not going to be denied.
Yeah, that was kind of unbelievable. And I didn't realize this. Did you know that Pete Carroll has never lost to the Eagles?
No,
he's 8-0.
Really?
He's 8-0 in his career against the Philadelphia Eagles.
That's incredible.
Good for him. So this is going to sound a little bit like I'm pissed off because I took EAGLES as plaster bet of the day. So we get down to Philadelphia, not able to convert on third down.
Let me on the schedule, and Kelly, I want to see what you think on that. And you mentioned this earlier. Their last 3 games
are Twinkie cupcakes.
Right. So I want the NFL looked at that and said, yes, this is a gauntlet.
That's unfair. That
it is.
Thing
it is.
That is unfair.
The last 3 at all and go, okay, somewhat balances out, maybe a little, like not obviously
not.
Yeah,
but it's
not the
too
same.
late. I mean, if you mix them in, it's a little more fair, but it's like saying
the damage was done.
Alabama, Georgia, at Texas, at Oklahoma, at USC, and we'll give you a breather. You get Ole Miss. I mean, that's absurd.
That's absurd. That's a tough schedule right there. I mean, I would not want that. I think that's how you have to play that if you're Nick Sirianni, though. I mean, we just came through probably the hardest stretch that we're ever going to go through here. And now we've got games that we have to win this division.
But you also know that all the talking heads are really yapping about Philly. So let's go to last night. Philly does not convert on 3rd and 6, and had they done so, the game was over.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was a particularly good play call, but that really doesn't matter. Now, hold on to this stuff. Don't be showing me this yet. I want to set all this up. That was pilot error.
All right, let's hear this setup.
That's okay. Hey, that's a finable offense, George.
Wow.
Let's get the setup.
What number is that Kelly has fired you?
Fired me?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a sitting duck right now.
Okay. But I mean, it's not the first time you've heard that out of him. I don't sense that you're worried about it.
I'm not worried.
Okay. So Philly punts, and Seattle is 92 yards. 92.
Yeah.
With one timeout left in 1:52. And so I'm sitting there saying to myself, you took the Eagles minus the 3.5. Relax. At best, Seattle is going to maybe throw a Hail Mary at the buzzer to try to win. Now, let me say up front, I'm not Matt Patricia's biggest fan. Okay? People that put pencils in their head, in their ear, I don't know.
That's harsh, George.
It is. He's now the defensive coordinator in Philly after this switcheroony that they've done. Now, let's go to the first play that has me saying, oh, crap. This is Drew Lock lobs it up for a great wide receiver in DJ Metcalf.
DK.
What did I say, DJ?
DJ.
Okay. DK is he's
monster.
He's A.J. Brown is what he is.
Yep.
And here it is one more time. And at this point, I'm saying to myself, oh, Lord, this is not going to work out the way it should. And from a third angle, he will again catch it. But, Kelly, I'm sitting there saying to myself, okay, no matter what, you cannot let somebody get behind you. If they're going to catch it, they catch it in front of you. Hold on. Why are you doing this to me?
What?
I haven't. Is there not
a
scenario where I can call for it? In other words, I'm setting it up.
All right.
Okay.
Here's the setup.
Okay. Kelly, is there not a thought process that says, okay, nobody's getting behind us. If they catch it, we tackle, the clock runs, they've only got one timeout, blah, blah, blah. So help me to understand how on God's earth this guy, and I can't even think of his name all of a sudden.
Jackson Smith and
Jigba. How does he get a step and a half behind the defensive back? Now show it.
Well, he gets a step and a half because he's pretty good and he's fast.
I grant you that.
There's a good angle coming up of the safety. I don't know what in the world this safety was doing, and they're going to show it here. He kind of
that's the whole deal right there. Like the play to DK Metcalf. They started out in a 2 shell, which that's normally what you stay in, and obviously he was bringing pressure. So they brought the safety down to the strong side, and they were rotating the safety back. And you'll see right there. Yeah, the safety's coming down. He's trying to get somebody out of the backfield, and then that's inexcusable, George. I agree with you. I mean, that's guys making plays right there. You have to play the situation. When they're how many yards did you say they started out? It was 92 yards.
They were
drive?
92 yards from victory, and they have one timeout left. And I'm sitting there saying to myself, the best Seattle can do is basically chuck one at the buzzer in a Hail Mary into the end zone. That if that's all the time.
They were playing a man. They were playing a man coverage right there. In my opinion, you stay in a 2 shell and you allow them. I don't think people go over these situational and hey, they do that all the time. Just like Smith and Jigba said after the game, we work on 2-minute every day. That was a great throw. That was a great catch by him. You cannot let guys behind you. In my opinion, they should have gone to a 2 shell. Cover 2 where the corner stays, he stays up and he tries to get guys coming to the flat or whatever. You can play quarters or whatever, but when you do that, you bring the safety down. The safety was lurking for somebody coming out of the backfield. So they went total man right there. The Bradbury kid, number 24, you can't get beat deep. You just can't get beat deep. You got to keep everything in front of you. And that's what a 2 shell does. A 2 shell keeps everything in front of you. But right there, you see he's trying to catch right now. the corner outside. When you do that, and that guy, if you can go back, Billy, I don't know if you can go back with that, but if you go back, you watch the corner, like he's not even his feet stopped, and when his feet stop as a quarterback, you understand I got him because my guy's running full speed, and that's why. Just watch this. When he settles at about the 20-yard line, you're beat. I mean, you're done. He settles his feet because he's trying to jump something underneath.
Right.
He thinks he's going to run something underneath, like an out, like a curl, like an in route, something like that, and he stops his feet. When you do that, the game's over, man. If you have a quarterback that can deliver, Drew Lock delivered it, touchdown Seahawks.
So Kelly, here's where I'm going to go with this.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there before Seattle, and if I remember correctly, there may have been a commercial break, and I'm sitting there saying a minute 52. One timeout remaining. You can give them all the 10 to 12 yard stuff they want. The clock's going to keep moving.
The clock moving, absolutely. Yep.
And instead, you've got two different pass plays of over 30 yards. And so when the game ends, I'm just like, that's stupid football.
When you've got 92 yards and you've got a minute 52 left, in order for them to get down there and have that opportunity, you have at least to have to at least have one chunk play. You've got to have a big play of 25, 30, 35 yards, but not two. I mean, they allowed two. Just one can get it done, but they allowed two. Plus, they were down by 4 points, so they have to score a touchdown. So that makes the situation even different. You have got to make them go. You can't give them anything deep, and you got to make them go down the field, and you got to keep them in bounds. That's the problem that the Miami Dolphins had against the Tennessee Titans 2 weeks ago when they allowed them in that second to last drive, when they allowed them to go down the field and they used no time off the clock because they were able to throw out routes, they were able to throw corner routes, get the ball out of bounds. It's under 5 minutes. The clock stops. They took actually no time off the clock in that drive. Then that allowed them to keep their 3 timeouts. Then they could get Miami, have the ball back. They stop them 3 times, and then they get the ball back. So that gave them an opportunity. Well, if you're Seattle last night, you got 92 yards to go. They've got to score a touchdown. So you have to keep everything in front of you, keep everything in bounds because they've only got 1 timeout. Now, if it's 3 timeouts, a little different. 1 timeout, keep them in bounds. Make sure they don't get out of bounds and tackle them and get them in the field of play. When you do that, that clock's going to go. They got 1 time to stop it. Then after that, it should have been, if you're coaching right, and it should have been, they have those, like you said, that scenario where you have to throw the ball to the end zone on the Hail Mary, but it should not have been like that. But they not only got 1 chunk play, they got 2 chunk plays in that drive, and you're going to lose on most occasions on that.
And to my shock, when the second one got completed for the touchdown, there were still 25 seconds left on the clock. Yeah. And I'm like, this is absurd. The Phillies' strategy of clock management, first of all, again, I'm not a big fan of Patricia. I think he's a bit of a bonehead, and I thought he showed some of it last night. What are they doing at the end?
I don't know.
I mean, Philadelphia got beat by its own stupidity. Now,
I'll say this.
Give Drew Lock credit. He made 2 great throws.
Those 2 throws had to be nearly perfect.
But think about it. 92 yards in a minute 52 with 1 timeout, which, by the way, I don't think they ever used.
Well, and think about it, too. On the other side, game of inches, if that throws a little bit off left or right to Metcalf, could have been intercepted, could have fallen incomplete, could have been all
Drew Lock, good for him. Look, I'm happy for him, and his post-game interview was terrific. It really was.
Terrific. Yeah, that was awesome.
But under the category of, and I know there's some other things wrong right now in Philly. Their last 3 games, their point totals offensively are 19, 13, and 17. That offense got to be up in the 20s. I get all that. But last night, they lost because of stupid football, period.
Yeah. Well, when you're a professional football team in the NFL and they got 92 yards to go, you should win the football game. You truly should. You should make them spend all that time. That's what bothers me It was bothering me in that Tennessee Titans game when my like defensive coordinators. The same thing about the Hail Mary pass, George. Like, if you allow the quarterback to buy time and to throw the Hail Mary pass to allow him to get it off, there's a 50-50 chance it's going to be completed. Well, why not send people and send pressure? But everybody wants to rush 2 guys, rush 3 guys and get everybody back. Well, if he's not able to get the ball in the air, then you win the game. It's the same thing as that situation right there. If you keep them in the field of play and make the time tick down, but they were picking on the Bradbury kid because I think he was the one that had the DK Metcalf caught the ball on, and then Smith and Jigba caught the ball on. So they knew going into the game, hey, we don't want to go to this side, but if we got a situation like this, we want to pick on Bradbury, and that's what they did.
So I've got to think there's some real turmoil in their locker room. Jalen Hurts said something afterwards about, we're not committed enough. And my guess is that probably didn't go over real well either. They got some issues to sort out before they play the cupcakes that they're about to get.
Yeah, well, here's another thing that bothers me too is A.J. Brown's a great player. Don't get me wrong, because Tennessee they obviously messed up in the worst way getting rid of him. But like when you start calling your quarterback out, when you start yelling at him, when things like that are going on, like you're not the only dude on the team, man. There's only one football to go around, and most of the times I got 5 guys out in the route. I can't get you the ball every time. Now, are you our guy? Absolutely. But you also got Devontae Smith. You got the Goddard guy. You got DeAndre Swift. You got all these guys that are playmakers. You're not the only guy. So when you overthrow, like I think one time Jalen Hurts overthrew the ball yesterday, and then you see A.J. Brown throw his hands up like this. I'm like, do you not expect me to make a bad throw every now and then?
Yeah,
you're not perfect, brother. What are we doing here? So there seems like there's some of that going on. And then when you got a head coach making a sparse decision like he made of switching coordinators, there's something deep underlying going on there.
There's a pretty glaring, ugly side of A.J. Brown that you saw last night. You've seen it
absolutely
in Nashville. You've seen it at certain points this year. But also, they've taken some risks in the draft with I think Jalen Carter might have had some character issues, something he got in trouble with at Georgia. I forget exactly what it was, but the way they've drafted, they have talent. But it comes a point, in the season where if you don't have character guys, there's some sections that peel off and might hurt the team.
So here's the likelihood that because of the schedule break, they're going to either win it in a tiebreaker or win it outright against Dallas. To me, that's not really the issue. The issue is, can you get your stuff together? And that wasn't the word I was thinking of. Can you get your stuff together in the next month so that when you do have to play San Fran, that you can go toe-to-toe and not have to back off the way it feels like they're backing off right now?
Right.
Those 2 Giants games won't be a walk in the park, though.
No, they're not going, because they're playing better and they've got some confidence in that young quarterback. Arizona's not very good, but still, it doesn't matter. You're still playing the National Football League, and anytime you step out there on that field, I don't care if it's a last place team in the league. If you're not playing very well, they can beat you. Just like I talked about yesterday when we were 0-10 at the Indianapolis Colts, and the first team we beat was the Super Bowl champs, the Green Bay Packers, with Brett Favre and all those weapons that he had, and we beat them, and we were 0-10. So you always have to bring your game, and sometimes you don't have your A game, but you still better have your B plus or your B game to beat teams like they're about to play.
Okay, I don't know who's seen the video and who hasn't, but yesterday, after losing again, in this case to Kansas City, Bill Belichick was asked in his Monday morning press deal, which he doesn't appear to enjoy, do you think Robert Kraft has your back? And he sort of gave an answer that told me one thing, but might not tell you the same thing. He said, that's a question you need to ask Mr. Kraft. Well, I think that was Belichick saying, hell no, he doesn't have my back. And why aren't you all asking him stronger? Why aren't you saying, Are you really going to fire this resume? That's what I think he was trying to say. How about you?
Well, when it comes down to money, it doesn't matter, George. We know that. I mean, you've got to. Yeah, the guy's won 6 Super Bowls. He's been to 9 of them. He's been to 11 of them with the Giants. He won both of those. He was a defensive coordinator. But like, when you're losing and you've only won 2 games, there's not many folks have your back, and especially the owner. I mean, everything's great. You can cover up a lot of stuff when things are going and you're winning. But when you start losing, all those things become a glaring to everybody else, and nobody's got your back. I don't care how many Super Bowls you've won, because when it boils down to it, it's still a business and it's still about winning. And if you can't get it done, then they're going to get somebody else. And I've told you this. I said this last week. That Patriot way is a good way if you're winning, because nobody cares, because they knew when Tom Brady was there that I don't care. Any free agent came in, everybody wants to get a ring. And they knew when Tom Brady was there, you've got a great opportunity to get a ring, because these dudes are going back and back and back to Super Bowls, going in the playoffs, winning division championships, going to the AFC championship, winning that, and winning Super Bowls. So that Patriot way was okay. But now, in this different time and era of players and their mentality, guys don't want to go that if you're not winning. You don't want to be held to that kind of standard. Like, all that, I'm not saying it's bullying, but like, it's just business all the time there. And if you're not winning, it's hard to keep that going.
Do you think Kraft has already made the decision?
I don't think he's made a decision yet. I think he's had a lot of sleepless nights about that. I do. I think he's had some sleepless nights, some thoughts every day about that. And like, am I going to be the one to fire Bill Belichick? And he might not be even thinking that, because he knows Bill Belichick can win, but he's got to have players, and you have to have the guy behind center that you're confident in, that you think you can win. And right now, they don't have that.
Well, is it not a similar situation as it is here in Nashville with Vrabel? Like, Belichick, he's the guy making those draft picks, correct, up in New England?
Yeah, except for one thing. Okay, he's got 6 Super Bowl rings on his mantle, and I don't mean this as a knock at Vrabel. He doesn't have any.
But the way we're talking,
as a coach,
but the last 2-3 years, Patriots have had a lot of duds in those drafts, and Belichick's been making those calls. So,
okay, I mean, so what Kelly said earlier is exactly what I think is going on. I think Kraft wakes up at about 3:00 in the morning, and one morning he wakes up and says, "I'm going to do it.
I'm going to do it." Right.
Okay, and then the next morning, wakes up and he says, "I can't do this. Yeah. This man has brought all these trophies into our place. I can't do this." I think there is a mental tug of war going on. I can't prove that, but I think there's a mental tug of war going on in this poor man right now as to what to do about this.
I agree.
And I would say, Kelly, that this is different circumstances, but when Jerry Jones fired Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah.
Now.
That was mutual.
Well, what ended up happening is that both of them had a few too many the night before, and because it was an NFL owners meeting, all hell broke loose, and Jerry Jones told some of the writers, you might want to stay up late because there's going to be some news. Well, when everybody sobered up, it got a little more, ooh, wait a minute, what are we doing here? We're still going to do it, but we're going to give him a check for over $1 million as a way of saying thank you and whatever. I mean, this does not appear to be one where alcohol is an issue the way that firing was. Because Jimmy Johnson had brought him 2, back-to-back world titles,
Yeah.
And hell, even Barry Switzer got him a third one. So Jimmy Johnson clearly had the deck stacked for good things. But right now, Belichick, he's got the 6 rings, but for the future, I don't know how I don't know what he has to sell.
I'm kind of with you, George. I just remember Jimmy Johnson talking about, and I'm sure, like you said that. I mean, that's something new to me, which I figured that something like that happened. But I'm sure they got into it. And Jimmy Johnson, because he said it in the press conference, he's like, he thinks he knows more football than I do, and I just don't agree with that. But then you got Bill Belichick, who's in control of everything, and Bob Kraft has never been like a Jerry Jones. He's allowed his guys to work.
Right.
He's never been involved as Jerry Jones, but that's going to be a tough decision for him. But we all know this. I mean, everything is a means to an end, and at some point, it all comes crashing down, and it's never really. A lot of times, most of the time when that happens, they don't ride out of the sunset like a John Elway does, or a Peyton being able to win his last game. It doesn't happen like that. Most of the time, they're bad splits.
By the way, the comment that started it at the owners' meetings when the two JJs split up was Jerry Jones popped off something to the effect of, there are 100 people who could coach this team to a world title.
That's right.
And it pissed off Jimmy Johnson beyond belief. Now,
that's a classic Jerry Jones
there is
line.
a book that goes knee deep into all that stuff. Let me ask this one. I believe if Tomlin were to get shown the door in Pittsburgh, he gets hired like that.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that guy's a really, really good football coach. He's never had a losing record. This year's probably going to be and if he turns it around these next 3 games, I think they're already going to have a losing record. Am I correct?
You might be right there.
I
think they already are.
I don't think it's guaranteed.
It's not okay. So if they win the next 3, then they're So, but that guy's a really good ball coach. You're absolutely right, George. If he gets let go, I mean, somebody might fire the guy that's there now so that they can get Mike Tomlin. I mean, that's just how good of a coach he is. I mean, he's won a Super Bowl, but he don't have Ben Roethlisberger. And that's where all this stuff starts, man. If you do not have the guy behind center, that's the way the league has become now. If you don't have a good quarterback, a guy that can win games for you, you're on the outside looking in. And when Ben Roethlisberger retired, I mean, he doesn't have that guy anymore. So that's a huge deal. And they're trying to find somebody. They obviously think Kenny Pickett's the guy. I don't think that, but there's not too many Ben Roethlisbergers around there. And Mike Tomlin is a really good football coach. And you're right. If he goes, somebody will get him the very next day.
Okay.
Steelers are 7-7 right now.
Yeah. So it's right.
Okay.
It's still.
Yeah. We're still there.
Okay.
Yeah.
On Belichick, I think it's a little bit different, partly because he's in his early 70s. And the other part is what you brought up, that, he's a control freak. He wants to make all the decisions, not a lot of fun. But if it only takes one owner to say, I want him, it's the Redskins.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
The Commanders, whatever the hell they are.
The Redskins. I like the Redskins better. I'm with you on that. I got reprimanded by Willie because a couple of years ago I said Redskins, and he said they're the Commanders. We've got to call them the Commanders.
Whatever.
I said, they're the Redskins, and I'm like,
they'll always be the Redskins.
I mean, seriously.
Should we sing the song before we go to the break?
You can sing it.
Okay, let's go to the break. I'm a little bitter because I get a loss last night that I don't think I deserved. Philly should have won that game. And at worst, the only thing Seattle should have been able to do was toss a Hail Mary into the end zone at the buzzer. It didn't work out anything close to that. So I'm going to rebound tonight with 2 victories. You'll want to know what they are when we come back.
Family owned and operated for more than 2 decades, Alaco Fine Wood Floors is Nashville and Middle Tennessee's choice for premium quality hardwood floors. Since 1995, Jimmy Alaco and his army of employees have embodied the approach of taking pride in one's craft and providing superior customer service, growing from a one-man shop to a team of 23 professionals who share the founder's passion for quality craftsmanship and customer satisfaction. If you are interested in contacting them, you can find their headquarters at 2505 Winford Avenue in Berry Hill, or give them a call at 615-356-0303. Again, that's 615-356-0303, or log on to alacofinewoodfloors.com. Alaco Fine Wood Floors, serving Middle Tennessee's hardwood flooring needs since 1995.
You were in a crash.
Yeah.
Your kids were in the car with you.
We're very lucky to even be telling this story to you. Nikki treated us like family, and she was very caring and loving, and I'm just so grateful for that. She was somebody I could trust, and being a veteran, that's so important to me. My kids are going to have a better life now because I don't have to worry about those expenses that we were out. Your family has really created a legacy of trust, and I would recommend you to anyone.
Over the years, more men have started to seek help for hormone deficiencies and imbalances, and Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and wife Daphne, along with their experienced staff, give men the treatment required to improve their quality of life, improve your immune system, energy level, cognitive function, and more. There's no better time to achieve a healthy lifestyle. What are you waiting for? Give Cool Springs MD a call today for an appointment at 615-486-3458 or visit the website coolspringsmd.com. Star Physical Therapy was established in 1997 with one great mission: to serve. If you're hurting, don't wait to receive physical therapy. You don't need a referral to see their physical therapist, and early morning and evening appointments are available. Make the call to 615-673-1420 and get rid of that pain. Star Physical Therapy, the official health provider of Football Friday.
Convenience and value, two words that we expect when we do business. Our goal at JHA Company is to deliver just that, both to our school partners and to our customers. Whether you're purchasing photos, yearbooks, class jewelry, letter jackets, school spirit wear, or senior graduation products, we strive to make the experience easy, convenient, and cost-effective. Find out more at jhacompany.com or call 615-867-6345 for more information. JHA, one source, one company.
Frisco Bowl tonight, UTSA and Marshall. You also got the Preds back in town to face the Canucks. See where George is going. A plaster bet of the day brought to you by Bart Durham Injury Law. Give them a call, 615-242-9000, or log on to bartdurham.com. And George, that record is getting a little bit closer to 500.
If I need your help with this, I'll ask for it. Kelly, that was totally uncalled for.
Well, he's gotten a little big for his britches here lately. I mean, you probably need to, get him down a couple of notches, man. But as long as you keep letting him do it, man, he's going to keep doing it.
How many times have you fired Billy?
I don't know. It's been quite a few, man. If I, of course we can. He understands he's got the leverage. I mean, that's where you need to have somebody on the waiting list. You know what I'm saying? So you can scare him a little bit. But right now he's not scared at all.
So then he has to beg Tony for a job.
Correct.
Okay. So here we are, and I'm hacked off. The Eagles. I had the right side. Normally,
what do you mean?
I'll tell you, they should have won.
Shoulda, coulda, woulda.
They should have won.
Woulda, coulda, shoulda.
Yeah, it's losers talk, but right now I feel the need to pat myself on the back.
If you were a coach,
I had the right choice.
If this is a post-game press conference and you get asked, Coach, what happened tonight? You said, we should have won. We were the right side.
We should have won. I mean, let me ask you this. You don't think Nick Sirianni didn't think we should have won?
You got to give credit to the opposition sometimes.
I'm not saying you don't, and I've already done that. I think Drew Lock made some great throws. Yeah. DK Metcalf is a stud. But let me tell you something. They should have been forced to go 10 yards at a time with that clock moving. It should never have been that easy. That's all I'm saying.
I hear you.
By the way, a pro football quarterback agrees with me. So
I agree.
The fact that you do not, I don't care.
I'm not saying I disagree.
I had the right side last night, and it still didn't.
I agree with taking time off the clock. I don't necessarily agree with you thinking that you were on the right side. I mean, obviously you weren't. So
I didn't ask for your opinion. Okay, so we're going to rebound tonight. I'm a little bitter about last night. So let's go to the two selections this evening. Let me explain where I'm going. This evening's selections. Texas San Antonio is a home team in Frisco, Texas. Now, what does that mean? I don't know. It might mean 50 fans to 12. Who knows? But they should have a decided home field. And the fact of it is they don't need it. They're way better than Marshall. They're considerably better. Now,
we are.
The one area that they might not be is defensively. Offensively, they're a million miles better than Marshall.
You're going to get that with a lot of these early bowls.
Yeah. I'm taking Texas San Antonio. The bottom deal, you say, well, you're betting with your heart. Well, what have they won now? Like 12 of their last 15, something like that.
Canucks are good, though, right?
But until the Predators lay an egg at home, I'm going with them.
And where are they in the standings, George?
Well, it's funny you should ask because they have risen to within 3 points of the division lead. How insane is that?
They're in third in the Western Conference. There's two teams tied for first.
Dallas, in their division.
Dallas and Colorado.
Have how many?
Wow.
Have 40.
40.
Winnipeg has 39.
And the Preds have 36.
Preds have 36. They've got a 4-point lead on Arizona. And so they're on pace for what you said, the 7 seed right now?
If the season ended at this moment, Dallas as a 2 seed would play the Preds as a 7.
Wow.
I think ideally
with a new coach and a totally different team. That's pretty impressive.
This is a very good Vancouver team they're playing, by the way.
Yeah, Vancouver, for reference, they're second in the Pacific. They've got 44 points.
Yeah, they're pretty good. The Predators being favored is simply the streak that they've been on. But until it doesn't work, I'm going Preds.
Let's go
Preds. Wake up.
Wow, why are you hating on Matt Patricia? What is your dig with Matt Patricia?
He was the Philadelphia defensive coordinator last night.
I understand that, but what's your dig? I mean, hey, he calls the defense. I mean, if you're Bradbury, he might have told him in the meetings, can't get beat deep. I don't know. All you can do is call the play, George, and hopefully you've repped it enough, and hopefully you've gone over situations enough. But you know what? You can do it 1,000 times, and you can do it 1,000 times right, and then the 1,001st, they totally screw it up.
My players would be smarter than that.
Okay, all right. You've obviously never coached players then, because you want to grab some of them by the throat. That's why I needed to get out of it, especially at the high school level, because they don't have the same desire or want to that you do, because you love the game. And some of them just want to be part of something. Now, when you go to the college and pro levels, it's a little different. But there were times that I wanted to grab a kid by the throat, and then I would have gotten, it didn't matter. Who cares if they fire me? I'm there anyway. I'm not getting paid. I'm volunteering my time. Wow. You know what I'm saying?
Speaking of bitterness, wow.
That is what it is, but that's just how it goes, man. You can, everybody always says, well, what you see on Friday night or what you see on Saturday or Sunday or whatever day of the week it is, that's what happens in practice. And I do not buy into that. Like, you got a kid that you've explained this to for 100 times, and on the next play, he totally screws it up, and he's done it right for 100 times. I don't get into that.
Okay, so it appears that I need to clean my attitude up by tomorrow. Clearly, Philadelphia's meltdown has pissed me off. You appear to have some deeper-seated issues.
Some pent-up issues, yes.
Right, maybe some therapy. Maybe going to see somebody would help.
Well, you know what? I've been told that, hey, it's okay to go talk to somebody, and I'm like, not a chance.
So, Mr. Holcomb, lay down on the couch. Billy,
yep.
You need to clean up your attitude as well. It's gotten a little out of hand.
For what?
I don't know.
It's got a little spicy.
We'll see all of you tomorrow. Thanks for being with us.
See you.